Ramadan springs hope. It is a season of holy devotion and spiritual purification. Today, we join the Muslim Ummah in marking the holy month of Ramadan. During this period and always, ensure that all your transactions are free from elements of uncertainty and gambling by only investing your money differently. Bank different with Gulf African Bank. If not now, when? Call us on 0711 075 000 or SMS join to 21981. Remember to adhere to the government's health and safety regulations to combat COVID-19. May God protect us. Ramadan Mubarak.
Imagine if the virus was to spread in Kibera. For every 2 people infected, they infect at least 10 more.
I will not forget Shofar, which has immensely helped the whole society within and about Kibera sub-county and largely outside the area.
Mount Kenya University takes pride in being an academic giant with some of the best infrastructure, imparting knowledge to the best brains in the country and the region. Our members of faculty are keen to deliver market-driven programs in science and humanities with a keen focus on linkages with relevant organizations. We admit both self-sponsored and government-sponsored students under the Kenya Universities and Colleges Central Placement Service. Join us today and train with the best to become the best. Mount Kenya University, unlocking infinite possibilities.
This is NTV.
In just under 48 hours, the world will be marking the annual Labor Day. What should be a celebration of workers across the globe. Well, given the COVID-19 pandemic, never has a conversation about the plight of workers been more necessary than it is, and it gives more meaning to that day, May Day. In the wake of a new world order threatening virtually every aspect of human life, the world is staring at a long-lasting labor crisis with unimaginable ramifications to sources of livelihood. Here in Kenya, countless of workers have either been laid off, sent on indefinite leave, or forced to take a pay cut. Only yesterday, the government released data showing a drop in employment of up to 4% for 2019. And if that was bad, one can only imagine that the 2020 numbers will look like. But there is hope. In the wave of new innovations, in manufacturing sweeping across the country with promise of alternative forms of employment if streamlined. On team coverage tonight, we will be examining the future of work and what this paradigm shift means for the service industry going forward. Thank you for joining us on NTV tonight, the second last day of April 2020. The top stories.
Tonight, the reign of the heavy rains is leaving damage, disaster, and death in its trail. Neglected and bogus roads are exposing leaders.
We have had over 116 lives lost to floods.
Sasa ma MP muko kwenye parliament kule mnavaa goggles mnalala na mnaona ile mateso hapa vile watu wanapata.
Also tonight,
yake ilikuwa kifua. Inditabindi tu asiko kama rawa watu wako na ile ugonjwa juu yake ilikuwa kifua na ilikuwa imemfunga kabisa.
when it looks like coronavirus or is coronavirus, it is attracting stigma on families and even the recovered.
So we really do appeal for compassion in the community, for understanding, and even for celebrating these people who have been able to go through such a scourge and come out and recover.
And when your children are looking forward to a meal, but you have nothing to offer.
Nilipofika usiku nasema ngojeni nampikia. Lakini nikiasema ngoja nichemshe haya mawe kidogo kama watalala walale. Angalau mimi nami nipate kupumzika kidogo.
Wakaniambia tu chakula hata leo watoto wanalia tu njaa. Nikamwambia mapikia nini, akaniambia hata jana walilia mpaka mwisho, nikaona wacha nichemshe mawe niwadanganye kwamba chakula inaiva walale.
The sad story of a Mombasa widow. Plus, the new face of work.
Companies have been forced to adjust so quickly in such a short period of time.
Working from home has its perks. You don't spend 3 to 4 hours in traffic.
There's a new world order, and work, business and agriculture are no longer how we've known them to be.
COVID-19 ilipoingia hata mazao hayo hayana mahali pa kupelekwa, maana soko nyingi katika nchi zilikuwa zimefungwa.
The future of work on Team Coverage Wednesday.
NTV Tonight with Mark Masai.
Let's first get a global picture of where we are with the coronavirus pandemic. And globally, the cases have gone past 3 million, at least 3.1 million cases confirmed, with over 225,000 deaths. On the continent, there are at least 36,000 cases confirmed of COVID-19, with a little over 1,500 deaths. And in the US, the worst hit by the coronavirus so far, at least over 1 million cases confirmed, with over 60,000 deaths. Now, that picture is why we are where we are today and why we're given a special focus this Wednesday. Our sign language interpreter is Flora Atieno. And yes, our team coverage participants tonight, let's meet them. Joining us live from home is our planning and research editor, Edmond Nyabola, beg your pardon, as well as our features editor, Brenda Wanga. In Mombasa City is Kevin Mutai, and Oko Kusa is live from Kisumu City. With me in studio is our business reporter, Lillian Kiaria. That's the team coverage in a bit. But first, the focus on the rollout of mass testing, and the exercise in the country may be delayed even further after the government admitted that it lacks a specific component in its already acquired testing equipment. The number of samples tested have of late been decreasing compared to previous tests that almost reached the 1,000 mark. Only 508 tests were conducted in 14 counties over the last 24 hours. The Senate Ad Hoc Committee report on the COVID-19 situation in Kenya noted that the Kenya Medical Research Institute is in urgent need of 790 million shillings, having exhausted most of its capacity in personnel, equipment, reagents and materials being used in screening and testing COVID-19 patients.
The country does have capacity to run tests. In fact, almost 37,000 tests a day, we can run them. However, it would require ensuring that we have all those inputs and components that go into a successful run for a test. Testing be as it may, we have sat down and asked ourselves, if we do not have enough supplies, what shall we do in terms of measures in ensuring that containment is upheld, but also ensuring that there's a surveillance mechanism.
And there seems to be more to treat than just the coronavirus disease, and that is the emerging trend that is going viral called stigma. This is slowing down the fight against COVID-19 pandemic. The Ministry of Health has confirmed that 5 more patients were discharged, raising the total number of those discharged to 129. Setolale with more on that update.
The family of the late David Kamau is facing double tragedy, that of losing their loved one as a result of suspected pneumonia.
Watu walishikwa na uoga, lakini tuliambiwa njue yake ilikuwa kifua. Inditabindi tu asiko kama rawa watu wako na ile ugonjwa njuu yake ilikuwa kifua na ilikuwa imemfunga kabisa.
and being sidelined by the community as a result of being into contact with a suspected COVID-19 fatality.
Tulikuwa na swali ya kujiuliza kwani ilikuwa COVID ama haikuwa COVID juu tuliona jinsi ilifanyika ki-COVID.
Madaktari hawajatoa results zao kutoka jana vile walituambia, vile walisema. Ningependa kuwaambia watu waache wasiwasi na waache kukata kauli kusema ni ugonjwa fulani. Waache tugoje vile ripoti zitakuja.
A similar incident occurred last week in Meru County when a middle-aged man from Kwale County was forced to witness the burial of his father from a distance. Residents feared that he may have contracted the virus by virtue of him coming from a high-risk county. This emerging trend is now worrying health authorities.
We are disturbed that reintegration has not been easy for these people. We have reports of stigmatization by members of the community for our recovered cases. And this is unfortunate considering our constant appeal and massive education to ensure that people are accepted back in the community.
Patients who have fully recovered from the pandemic have not been spared.
This morning, fellow Kenyans, we had a briefing with one of our recovered cases from ICU, a gentleman who was able to recover from coronavirus disease. And as he was sharing his story with us, he's given us disturbing events with regard to how he's been accepted back in the community, issues and experiences that have not been pleasant for him and his family.
In order to stop the stigmatization, the Ministry of Health has announced that it is partnering with recovered patients to spread awareness. The ambassadors of hope so far are 129 who have fully recovered. The total number of confirmed cases stands at 384 after 10 more infections were detected in Nairobi and Mombasa. The fact that COVID-19 is still rampant in Nairobi and Mombasa does not give a reason for residents from other counties to drop their guard. Meanwhile, hoteliers and restaurant owners are being advised to check on the new measures before reopening. Seth Olale, NTV, at the Ministry of Health Headquarters, Nairobi County.
As the tag there by Dan Mwangi, our producer, says, indeed, stop the stigma. It should be coming in as good news that people are recovering, the number being 129. And fortunately, every day there is the news of people being discharged and fully recovered. But it is becoming even harder for them to be reintegrated back into the society. Now to a different focus, and this is on a very, very sad note. A widow in Kisauni, Mombasa County has baffled many after she was found cooking stones. Yes, you heard that right. Cooking stones for her children because she had no food for them. Penina Kitsao has 8 children and is said to have prepared the meal in the guise of real food so that the young ones could stop crying as she also waited for them to fall asleep. Kevin Mutai visited her and brings us this story.
Miles away from Mombasa Central Business District, our search for Penina Kitsao brought us to Mlango Saba in Kisauni, where we were led to Mleji village. Here we found that 6-year-old mother of 8 in her 2-bedroom house with no water nor electricity. She says for the last 1 month life has been unbearable and that she, believe it or not, cooked stones to make her children think that she was preparing dinner in hopes that they would fall asleep, which they did, perhaps out of sheer exhaustion.
Nilipofika usiku nasema ngojeni nampikia, lakini nikiasema ngoja nichemshe haya mawe kidogo kama watalala walale, angalau mimi nipate kupumzika kidogo. Ile wanaendelea kunihangaisha kulia, yule mdogo anasema nataka kula mama na sina kwa nyumba chakula.
One of the neighbors was alerted by her children who were crying for food only to find a pot with stones boiling.
Nikaona watoto wako chini lakini hawana furaha. Nikakuta sufuria iko hapa chini kwa mawe lakini imefunikwa. Nikamwambia mmekula nini? Wakaniambia tuchakula. Hata leo watoto wanalia tu njaa. Nikamwambia umapikia nini? Akaniambia hata jana walilia mpaka mwisho. Nikaona wacha nichemshe mawe ni wadanganye kwamba chakula inaiva walale.
Hawa kubwa wanaelewa. Huyo mdogo ndiye haelewi. Akiniona nimebandika sufuria pale, ataona kama napika chakula.
The neighbor then posted her story on the internet, and now she has been receiving some food items from well-wishers.
Kama mama mwenzake nilisikia uchungu sana. Pia mimi na watoto kama yeye. Nikaamua kumtafuta.
Penina was widowed in June 2019 after her husband was attacked and killed by a criminal gang. She was 2 months pregnant with the last born, who now doesn't understand why mommy has no food.
Ulipokuwa ukiweka mawe kwa jiko, hawakuona kwamba ni mawe?
Ale nimebandika tayari mwenyewe, nimetoka huku ndani na kisufuria nikabandika, hao wako hiru nyingine. Nikafinika. Nawaambia tulieni chakula kiendelea kuiva.
She used to depend on menial jobs like washing clothes for pay, but given the situation, those jobs are few and far between, especially because of her 6-month-old baby. She's among the people yet to benefit from free food distribution from the county government of Mombasa. Kevin Mutai, NTV.
And when we aired this story of Penina Kitsao and her family of 8 and what she's had to do, and that is cook stones to give the feeling that dinner is being prepared in the hopes that their children will fall asleep and wake up the following day and hopefully get something. And in that line of getting something, if you are moved, we will be sharing the contacts of Penina Kitsao, but we just have to confirm the right contact and the right channel to be able to perhaps forward what people would want to give to support this family. Let's now turn our attention to our team coverage discussion this evening. First out is our planning and research editor, Edmund Nyabola, live from home here in Nairobi. Edmund, I'm not sure if you're in your swimming shorts, but there is a new phrase in town, and that's working from home, which coincidentally is what you are having to do tonight.
Well, Mark, me having to do this from the comfort of my humble abode actually exemplifies what the new phase of work does look like. And actually, employers and companies are employing this as an alternative to ensure continuity of work and business. But the question is, how do you ensure quality? How do you ensure timeliness? And of course, issues of supervision when someone is working away from the office? Take a look.
Ephraim Mwiti has been taking this short walk to work for the last 6 weeks now. Dressed down, the tax expert settles down in his home study to begin his day. The global pandemic has shut the doors of his employer's office.
Working from home has its perks. You don't spend 3 to 4 hours in traffic. You get to exercise, at your own time. Sometimes you get to eat a better meal than you would have to when you're working in the office. So it makes a big difference in the way you're able to deliver and add value.
This is the new face of work, the new normal for many Kenyan employees united by technology in communication and delivery.
The lack of the personal interaction. Sometimes you get to walk over to a colleague's desk and ask a question. We don't have that at the moment because you're mostly doing that via the virtual platforms of, say, Skype or Teams.
But every person is different under supervision from that which they are without it. Now you see him, now you don't. Ephraim admits that he sometimes succumbs to the distractions that come with this paradigm shift. From the irresistible, sometimes longer than appropriate entertainment breaks, to the allure of the sweet scent of kitchen spoils.
It comes down to discipline. It's about having a work plan. So when you start off the day, you need to have a routine and you need to stick to that routine, because at the end of the day, there is work to be done, there are deadlines to be met.
From my current organization, we are very known to doing remote, so for us it's nothing.
Maureen Njuguna is a director and the human resources lead at Andela, a technology company with staff across Africa working remotely.
Companies have been forced to adjust so quickly in such a short period of time because you still want to continue delivering value and earning revenue. And because of that, they've tried to find whatever means they possibly can to make sure that work is still delivered.
How do you ensure that someone is actually delivering from home as opposed to just spending their time perhaps doing other things?
If you don't have a clear routine where you know you wake up at this time and you start working at this time, then it can be a disruption. I think the second one that we found at least has worked for me and it's working for others is having a clear space that you use. So every morning you know that I have my desk sitting here, or have put this space where that's where I go and plug and play and work from. So a lot of our tools are purely secured. We work with companies that are not based here, so we've had to invest heavily to ensure that we also have data protection for any work that we're doing and delivering for them.
Is this what the future of work looks like?
I think the future of work is already here based on what we're currently going through. Because when you think of it from just the basic operational cost a company would go through, if I'm providing space for an employee within the organization, I have to think of different things. I have to think of providing power for them. I have to think of providing a proper work environment for them. I have to think of the space. And space is not cheap for any organization, they can tell you that.
In the words of famous Irish songster Van Morrison, these are the days of new beginnings. There is no past, there's only future. And this may well be the future of work.
I think work will be evaluated from the merits of the end product, not the people. Not people showing up in office with ties. So long as you can deliver at the end of the day, it doesn't matter where you are. That should be the future of work.
That the new normal is stretching the human capacity to the limit could never be overstated, but one thing is certain, that this new face of work is one we are not walking away from anytime soon.
Well, as you see there, Ephraim looks dressed down, and that's exactly what I look like here. You might see the tie and the shirt, but it's called a Zoom suit. Down there is a different case altogether. But while Ephraim there and many more might be fortunate enough to still have employment, millions and millions around the country do not have that privilege at this point in time, and because of the COVID-19 pandemic, as Kevin Mutai has been finding out. Kevin?
Well, Edmond, Kenyans are losing jobs every passing day of this global crisis. With the future still unclear, experts are warning that this might not be the worst. No one really knows what the future of employment looks like. Take a look.
I am jobless. I was fired because of the COVID-19. Yeah.
What work are you doing?
I was working as a salesperson at the hub, Karen.
Brenda, not her real name, speaks to NTV on anonymity, revealing how coronavirus pandemic took away her job after the company she worked for shut its doors.
On Wednesday at 9 a.m. wakatuma text message that our contract zimekuwa terminated na tuende tupeleke uniforms na tuende to sign out of the job totally. Kila mtu tulikuwa huko ndani. Tulikuwa watu 4 sales, 1 cashier na 1 manager. Sisi wote tukafutwa hivyo. The whole shop yote tukafutwa hivyo kazi.
As the pandemic roars across the globe, here in the country, many are devastated and hopeless. Brenda and her former colleagues who were sent home are waiting to see if they will be paid their dues.
Sina idea venye nita survive.
Na wenzako?
Sijui venye wao watasurvive because hao pia wako kwa nyumba.
Colette Akwana, an advocate of the High Court, says low-income workers are vulnerable as a result of the pandemic because businesses are struggling to absorb the economic meltdown.
Vitu kwa ground ni different. Most employers are working on bare minimum to keep their businesses afloat. But I think this is not just a unique situation to Kenya. I think the globe is literally scratching its head on what to do. Can we really save jobs? And I don't think...
She is also sounding an alarm over legal battles that might face employers, especially those that are laying off their workers without following labor guidelines.
Most employers may find themselves in a little bit of legal trouble because in trying to save some money today, you may be paying out hundreds of thousands, if not millions of shillings tomorrow in damages for having acted wrongfully.
Some of the worst hit sectors include the tourism industry, where hotel workers have been sent on unpaid leave or even suspended.
Mark, The growing labor crisis have brought about some pertinent issues around employment laws, hasn't it?
Just to paint the picture even clearer, Labour Cabinet Secretary Simon Chelugui has given some insight on how the issues of retrenchment, unpaid leave and will play out.
We as the Ministry of Labour, together with the CAS and the PS and the whole team, we have engaged in high-level social dialogue with employers through FKE and with employees or workers through KOTU. And what we are saying is, for the first 30 days of this problem, let us engage, let's allow people to proceed on normal leave. So they will get their pay, they will proceed like normal. Then if this thing persists, then the next 15 days we can extend. Some employers are saying they can extend by another 15 days.
Now, let's look at some of the legal aspects that stick out in this unfolding situation. And definitely have to give credit where it's due, Irene Kashindi, who gave me some of these insights from law. The employee writes what the law says. And first things first, and on the issue of salary cuts, which has actually hit quite close home, as you will hear later in this bulletin. It is here at the Nation Media Group. But this is what should happen. In line with the sections 10, 5 and 19 of the Employment Act, for instance, an employee's remuneration should not be reduced unless consulted and there is consent given to this by the employee. So there must be something in the lines of a document that would be signed to say, I agree with the terms. But to the other scenario that could be drawn here is unpaid leave. And in this particular issue, there is no statutory or constitutional provisions on unpaid leave. Few judicial interpretations by the court on unpaid leave. For instance, here at the Nation Media Group, it was used as one of the scenarios that could be a case where I would go on leave, still be on duty somewhat, working from home, given that we are providing an essential service, but this will definitely be taken off as an expense, given we are paid during the leave. And on to another scenario here, and the time limits that should be given on all these conditions that are being drawn. And following Article 41 of the Constitution, a salary cuts, unpaid leave should be limited in time. Where possible, a promise for long-term improvement or reimbursement once the operations normalize. So it shouldn't just be an open-ended kind of scenario. And to the issue of redundancies, if after everything has been tried and this COVID-19 pandemic continues with no end in sight, the redundancy scenario, now in this particular case, in line with the Employment Act, employer must demonstrate that the business is indeed affected by the pandemic in order to justify a redundancy. There must be issuance of requisite notices to the individual employees and unions where applicable, and there must be payment of redundancy dues. And on to something that many might have to go to, and that is legal recourse. I'm not telling my boss that's what I'll be doing, but there may be some people who would look at this scenario and where consultation is not carried out and consent is not obtained, employees can successfully claim the deducted or retained salaries through a court process. A court has power to issue injunctions to stop unlawful variations of terms of service, as well as unlawful declarations of the redundancy. And that is where it stands in terms of just some of the issues you should be looking out for. I see my colleague here, Jackie, is very attentive, because it has hit home here at the Nation Media Group. Some of these measures have also had to be put in place for the next 3 months. But it's not all doom and gloom, as Brenda Wanga will be telling us after the break as team coverage continues.
Disinfect and protect your home with Jik. Jik kills 99.9% of illness-causing germs. Disinfect floors, kitchen and bathroom surfaces, and wash white clothes, towels and dishcloths with Jik bleach. Just Jik it.
Birthday party.
Birthday party. Birthday party. Are we not invited? We have gifts. Malaria.
Mommy, pest.
Rat.
Oh, die.
Party.
Compared to laundry spray, Mortein Doom Power Guard kills disease-causing pests instantly. Mortein Doom Power Guard.
What do you see on the horizon? They say how you start your decade will determine how the rest of it will be. Imagine a decade full of opportunities, investment being one of them. Do you want a place to feed your mind, body and soul? A place to unwind every day, where you can get your health and fitness goals attained? A secure place for your family? A center for quality academic goals for your kids? Or perhaps a place to connect with your friends? Well, you can get all this and more at Amani Ridge, the place of peace, just 20 kilometers from the CBD. Call us today on 0790 300 300 or visit www.optivan.co.ke.
Oh, yani aje, mimi ndio Jonte Fresh. Mimi ndio nimetambulika hii Gikomba yote sekta ya manguo. Jumio transform nguo ordinary za mtush zenye ziuka mna hii harufu ya bail into the freshest igi kosi yote. Siri ni hii Ariel mpya ya pink. Na kushow mtush zinang'ara kung'ara kushinda kamera. So clean, so fresh. Ma customer unaisana na hii story. Ninatumia Ariel touch of down mpya tu.
For a better tomorrow, don't forget to do the 1, 2, 3 with Colgate every night.
On Thursday, 30th April 2020, the Nation Media Group will hold a live virtual Nation Leadership Forum starting 7:30 p.m. on NTV. With the help of a panel of experts, we will be unpacking the economic challenges COVID-19 presents, the various measures introduced to deal with these challenges, and what needs to be done to lead Kenya on to economic recovery. Nation Leadership Forum. Engaging society, impacting the nation.
Welcome back to Team Coverage. Our focus is on the employment scenario in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. And so far, we have given what is really a grim picture of the situation, but it's not all doom and gloom. In fact, a new wave of promise is sweeping across the country, isn't it, Brenda?
Yes, it is, Mark. This global crisis has had an unusual effect in Kenya, sparking off an unprecedented wave of innovation and manufacturing. Now, Kenyans all over the place are innovating and creating solutions to homegrown problems, not really homegrown rather, but problems that are facing us right now. And these innovations actually properly streamlined could actually just turn out to be that silver bullet to the unemployment crisis in Kenya. Take a look. The ideas and the execution are coming in raw, fast and furious. Whether it's the curious young minds at the basic level of the education chain, tapping into intuition.
And then from there, I draw it closer.
Or the institutions of higher learning turning knowledge to reality, Kenyans are churning out new ideas with such incredible talent, effectively finding local solutions to local challenges brought about by this global pandemic.
We all need to value our Kenyan products. We all need to value our Kenyan innovations. And I think this is a good opportunity to celebrate them. And so far, we've had more than 20 companies come up to produce PPEs, which is very exciting. And I'm certain going forward, not only will we produce for Kenya, but we'll also produce for other countries.
Kenya, like many other nations across the globe, has been struggling with access to critical supplies needed to combat the spread of the disease. It is because of this need that innovative minds have been going to work, playing their part by developing and manufacturing ideas. Mass production of face masks, sanitizers, ventilators, and indeed the raw automated hand washing systems, name them. The pandemic has only served as a catalyst for innovation and actualization of ideas, tapping into the wealth of knowledge and intuition existing in many a Kenyan mind.
There is a need in society. Kenya has entrepreneurs and innovators who are ready to fill that need. And if there is government support also for innovation, which we have seen significantly in this season from the Ministry of Industry and Trade, this will actually lead to a lot of innovation happening within our country.
But while Kenya has often led the way in world-changing ideas, for instance, the mobile money transfer, more often than not, these ideas remain just that, ideas on paper.
These innovations are sometimes difficult to commercialize, and also the lack of linkage between academia and industry also impacts on innovation. So people will have good ideas in academia, but translating those into actual products in the industry is not something that happens.
But even if inventors and innovators translate the ideas from paper to reality, more often than not, they find themselves having to contend with hurdles in the commercialization stages of their project. And the first challenge is theft of ideas due to weak enforcement of intellectual property laws and patent rights. Then there are resource and capacity challenges that nip the ideas from the bud, figuratively speaking, thus killing the aspirations of the innovators.
Innovation is a process that requires a lot of testing of concepts, prototyping, and if the finances are not available to do that, it also stifles the ability for an innovator to actualize their innovation. Also the ability to have IP laws locally that support innovation and to encourage people to also take advantage.
But if this new wave has taught us anything, it is the unlimited potential there is in Kenya. Experts contend that if this rich vault of ideas is tapped into and actualized, it could very well address the challenge of unemployment in the country. Business has always been a viable option. This too is taking a hit from this COVID-19 pandemic, especially here in Kenya. Now, my colleague Lillian Kiari has been exploring this. Lillian?
Brenda, the crisis has disrupted the conducting of business as we have always known it, and our proprietors are being forced to go back to the drawing board and come up with new strategies of doing business to stay afloat. Mutheo Kilu had just stocked up the usual supplies for her cleaning business when the coronavirus arrived in the country and disrupted business as she's always known it.
Disinfecting.
The next 72 hours would send her back to the drawing board in determining how to remodel her business to adapt to the times and beyond.
Pre-COVID-19, we were doing well. We had projects that we had just started. We had some that we were anticipating to start on, but now we've had to put that on hold.
If her business of 4 years was going to survive the times and stay afloat, some things had to change. The 26-year-old began by retraining her staff, then switching to virus-killing disinfectants, cleaning detergents, and purchasing protective gear. As someone in the sanitation and hygiene industry, she's among those on the front line of defending surfaces, shared spaces, and people against the virus.
Our products, for example, some of the disinfectants that we're using, one of them has a residual effect of 7 days.
First time tulikuwa tunatumia disinfectant kwa ma washrooms, but for now tunatumia kila now everywhere we disinfect. You see? Tumejaribu kuongeza vitu zingine ambavyo hatukuwa tunatumia mbeleni.
This new model didn't only come with upward cost adjustments, but also a demand for extra quality and a load of work. Now, her new operational strategy, she believes, can endure the times and perhaps any other emergency in the future.
Before COVID-19, we were being judged by whether a surface is physically clean. Right now, we need to make sure that all surfaces are disinfected and sanitized.
But under the circumstances, remodeling does not really guarantee reliable business. Keep it neat and clean is feeling the pinch just like other businesses.
We usually have 23 employees, but now we've had to let go of 5.
Saving on cost while still delivering services to clients is pushing many businesses to the wall. And so, making operational adjustment is the new norm. While restaurants and eateries have been allowed to reopen upon meeting certain measures, many are thinking of new viable strategies. As the economy takes a major hit with devastating effects, those in business like Kilu can only hope reworking their models will keep them afloat during and after this difficult period.
And that's what the business landscape looks like. But this pandemic has touched virtually every sector, including the agricultural industry. Isn't that right, Oko Kusa?
That's right, Lillian, especially due to the human element of production and unstable markets for an industry that contributes to a third of our GDP. Of course, the effect have been huge. Take a look.
Joseph Lamai is a livestock and crop farmer here in Trans Nzoia County. Though sometimes he grows maize, tomatoes are his specialty. This hasn't been a good season for Lamai, and the reason behind that is
COVID-19 ilipoingia, hata mazao hayo hayana mahali pa kupelekwa, maana soko nyingi katika nchi zilikuwa zimefungwa na nyanya hizo ziliharibikia kwa mashamba, na haya ndio yalikuwa mapato yetu ya kurudisha kwa upande wa mahindi.
The pandemic struck at a time when some farmers had just harvested, while others were in the process of weeding their farms, having successfully crossed the planting season.
Hata laborers pengine wataweza kupatikana, naona mashamba yanamea kwa sababu huenda kila mtu ameogopa kutoka katika boma lake, na watu wengi watakosa kutengeneza mahindi vile inavyotakikana.
Miles away in the green county of Kericho, similar fears of farmers incurring losses as a result of COVID-19 have been felt across the leafy valleys.
During the periods when there was no pandemic, we were able to pluck tea much longer time than it is at the moment. You realize it is now about 2 o'clock, but they have to take the green leaf to the buying center to be able to ensure that all the leaf will have been taken to the factory before the curfew time commences.
Chepkwony and Lamai are worried that should the pandemic persist, then agricultural production may also take a nosedive.
Because this pandemic, is global, and it has affected some of the big tea producing countries like India and maybe Sri Lanka and others. Consequently, I think globally the amount of teas now available is not increasing, but rather is decreasing.
Biashara ambayo hauna uhakika mwisho wake, watu huenda wakawachana nayo polepole. So serikali huenda ukaagiza mahindi zaidi, kwa sababu wakulima si kwamba hawana mashamba, ni kwa sababu wamevunjwa moyo.
In 2018, Kenya was the world's largest exporter and producer of black tea, estimated at 488 million kilograms. Chepkwony is skeptical if that will be the case in 2020. Sentiments shared by Lamai in regards to maize production. And now they want farmer protection policies to cushion agribusiness going forward.
Now, these farmers also say that they have been pushed back to the drawing board to come up with workable agribusiness models going forward. Back to you, Mark.
Thank you, Oko Kusa, for that, and indeed to the entire team coverage team on the future of work. Given the condition we're in with the COVID-19 pandemic, many things will have to change. But as part of some of our first stories here on the bulletin, we brought you that sad story of Penina Kitsao, a widow in Kisauni, Mombasa County, who boiled stones in the guise of cooking real food so that her children could stop crying, as she also waited and hoped for them to fall asleep. Many have said they want to help her, and she has allowed the sharing of her number to this end so that she and her 8 children can get help. Penina's phone number, and you can help by way of sending funds on M-Pesa, is 079785 029. That's Penina there with her 6-month-old child, and the other out of 8 children she has. She was widowed a few years back when her husband was killed by a gang. And yes, that is where she is right now. And the number 0797850029. You can help by way of mobile transaction, and she has given us the permission to share this. Thank you to Kevin Mutai and team in Mombasa that has made this story possible. And on that note, we take a break here on NTV Tonight, and yes, we'll have the business news shortly.
Where are you?
Malaria!
That's why you need the superior protection of Mortein 360-degree reach. Only this has 11 vents which enable it to reach the farthest corners. Mortein, total indoor protection.
The risk of illness causing germs is increasing. It is believed that the coronavirus can remain on surfaces in your home for up to 9 days. Touching infected surfaces is one of the ways in which germs spread. Regularly disinfect your floors, countertops, and kitchen surfaces with bleach, and use an effective toilet cleaner inside and outside your toilet bowl. This message is brought to you by Medifact, JIC, and Harpic.
Sona moja imetengenezwa kwa njia spesheli ili kupambana na maumivu kwa haraka. Sona moja ina aspirin kama kiungo. Sona moja, kitulizo kamili. Maumivu yakizidi, pata ushauri wa daktari.
Niaje wa Kenya. Hii ni public service announcement kuhusu coronavirus.
The Ministry of Health advises all returnees from abroad to self-quarantine for at least 14 days, whether they feel well or unwell.
Wash your hands regularly following the 8 steps of hand washing. Wet hands with warm water. Apply a small amount of soap. Rub palms together. Rub fingers and thumbs and the beads in between. Rub nails on palms. Rub the back of each hand. Rinse with clean running water and dry thoroughly with a clean dry towel.
Furthermore, it is advisable to cover your mouth and nose adequately when sneezing or coughing and immediately dispose of the tissue in a dustbin. Please do not use handkerchiefs if you can avoid it. If disposable tissue is unavailable, cough into your elbow. Try and avoid close contact with anyone showing signs of respiratory illness, such as coughing or sneezing.
Before you share any coronavirus information on social media, please verify it with Ministry of Health to avoid panic and alarm among your fellow Kenyans.
Have you shared your bonga points with someone who needs them? Remember to help a friend or anyone in need to buy food using your bonga points. Stay at home, but still stay together with your loved ones and friends using bonga points. Share your story or video of how you've helped a fellow Kenyan to our FB page NTV Kenya, Twitter page at NTV Kenya, Instagram at NTV Kenya, SMS 20686 or our WhatsApp number 0745 925 002.
NTV Business News in association with KCB Internet Banking.
Welcome to The Business. Interventions aimed at cushioning the economy from COVID-19 should be timely, targeted, and temporary. This is the advice the World Bank has given through its 21st edition of the Kenya Economic Update, which focuses on how the economy can best cushion the shock stemming from the COVID-19 pandemic. The bank also expected the central bank to sustain rate cuts going forward, even as the policy was slashed to 7% during Wednesday's meeting.
The 21st edition of the World Bank Kenya Economic Update shines the spotlight on the headwinds being faced as the economy struggles to mitigate the effects of COVID-19. The bank projects that Kenya's economy will grow by a paltry 1.5% in 2020 as key growth drivers suffer a hit from the spillovers of the COVID-19 pandemic on the economy.
So the economic activity in Kenya is being weighed down by a combination of both the supply and demand shocks from the external, but also from the domestic economy.
The bank argues that debt rescheduling could go a long way in helping Kenya ease the pressure being faced as it deploys policy tools to respond to the COVID-19 crisis.
It was agreed at the level of the G20 to have an initiative to support a suspension of debt payments, especially by low-income countries, IDA-eligible countries for the more concessional part of World Bank lending, a suspension on servicing of official bilateral debt. That's an important starting point. For many countries, that can be a huge financial relief.
The World Bank also expects that the central bank will maintain an accommodative monetary policy stance in light of the present situation in a bid to support the business environment.
And so with low inflation and a negative output gap, the Monetary Policy Committee has been very supportive to the economy and has lowered the central bank rate for the 3 consecutive meetings.
The World Bank, however, projects a strong rebound by the economy in 2021, with growth projected to stand at marginally above the 5% mark. Julian's Amboko, NTV.
The Nation Media Group has taken a step to facilitate the restructuring of any company and Nation SACCO loans in a bid to cushion employees from the adverse effects of COVID-19. Within this framework, employees will now be able to seek loan repayment extensions as well as other reliefs as revenues come under immense pressure due to an unfavorable business environment. The group has also undertaken to rationalize its wage bill, with any employees earning 50,000 shillings and above taking a pay cut of between 5 and 35% for 3 months effective May 1st, 2020. Those earning 50,000 shillings and below are not subject to the pay cuts. In the financial year ended December 2019, the group posted a net profit of 863 million shillings. It's not every day you read news about yourself, but it is reality. President Uhuru Kenyatta has intervened in the dispute between governors and the National Treasury that would have seen counties forgo 46 billion shillings in the 2019-2020 budget in what the government said was a move to share losses occasioned by the COVID-19 pandemic. The Council of Governors says the move by Treasury was ill-advised and should not have been made in the first place, as it would greatly have disadvantaged counties. 30 billion shillings was to be deducted from the shareable revenue, while 16 billion was to be slashed from grants and loans to counties.
While the national government has a drop, also the same effect is at the county level. So if we reduce county governments, then they will have more problems than the national government. Furthermore, national government can borrow. They are able to borrow. They are able to get support from all over the world, while counties are limited. We cannot borrow, them they can borrow. So
the traffic jam of trucks at the border of Malaba is stretching in excess of 40 kilometers from the border. We want to ask the national government, through Mheshimiwa Matiang'i, the Cabinet Secretary in charge of Internal Security, to engage the Ugandan government so that we ease the pressure that is there at the border, because what is happening is that it's taking almost 3 or 4 days for a truck to be cleared at the border. Now, these guys basically staying on the road for 30 or 40 kilometers, where they have to interact with locals of both Busia and Bungoma County, and it's likely to be a health risk.
The COVID-19 emergency fund has received a shot in the arm, with corporates deploying additional funds to the kitty designed to help mitigate the shock of COVID-19. The Equity Group Foundation, with the support of MasterCard Foundation, have committed to channel 1.1 billion shillings to the kitty, 300 million shillings of which has been donated by the Equity Group Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer James Mwangi. Still on the emergency fund, energy generator Kengen has also donated 20 million shillings to the kitty, whilst Coca-Cola has donated 30 million shillings. My director is having a tickle at how I said Coca-Cola. Sawa, Coca-Cola. Now to another story. JKIA workers were stranded last night after the suspension of contractual arrangement between the Kenya Airports Authority and Colnet Limited. According to KAA, this was a last resort after a failed negotiation. Workers attached to Colnet Cleaning Company were forced to hand in their badges and leave the JKIA premises without so much as a word. In a statement released by KAA CEO Alex Gitari, the authority claims it had reached out to numerous contractors to negotiate a decrease in charges to the authority. According to KAA, Colnet declined the negotiation and thus led to a suspension of their contract. KAA had initially entered into 2 contracts with Colnet for 3 years starting 2018. The 2 contracts sought cleaning services around the premises, with both contracts amounting to roughly 45 million and 40 million respectively. The negotiations come after the Jomo Kenyatta Airport was faced with a go-slow after international flights were grounded due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. That's where business news touches down. We'll be back with more.
NTV Business News in association with KCB Internet Banking.
We can always talk about your account online whenever you like.
Register at your nearest branch for KCB Internet Banking today.
If we continue to behave normally, this disease will treat us abnormally.
The risk of illness-causing germs is increasing. It is believed that the coronavirus can remain on surfaces in your home for up to 9 days. Touching infected surfaces is one of the ways in which germs spread. Regularly disinfect your floors, countertops, and kitchen surfaces with bleach, and use an effective toilet cleaner inside and outside your toilet bowl. This message is brought to you by Medifacts, JIC, and Hapic.
Niaje wa Kenya. Hii ni public service announcement kuhusu coronavirus.
The Ministry of Health advises all returnees from abroad to self-quarantine for at least 14 days, whether they feel well or unwell.
Wash your hands regularly following the 8 steps of hand washing. Wet hands with warm water. Apply a small amount of soap. Rub palms together. Rub fingers and thumbs and the beads in between. Rub nails on palms. Rub the back of each hand. Rinse with clean running water and dry thoroughly with a clean dry towel.
Furthermore, it is advisable to cover your mouth and nose adequately when sneezing or coughing and immediately dispose of the tissue in a dustbin. Please do not use handkerchiefs if you can avoid it. If disposable tissue is unavailable, cough into your elbow. Try and avoid close contact with anyone showing signs of respiratory illness, such as coughing or sneezing.
Before you share any coronavirus information on social media, please verify it with Ministry of Health to avoid panic and alarm among your fellow Kenyans.
Selena!
Toto, where is mommy?
Today's a toilet day.
What? Oh.
Selena!
Toilet day?
Tomorrow we're hosting a party and it's a matter of my reputation.
It's a toilet, not a white shirt. Even if you spend your entire day cleaning with bleach and detergent, still won't be party ready.
Impossible.
Challenge. Harpic 10X. Even if you use bleach and detergent 10 times, they won't give you the same sparkling clean toilet that Harpic 10X will give you.
Wow!
Harpic 10X. Harpic, Kenya's #1 toilet cleaner.
Maritime tips brought to you by Kenya Maritime Authority. Precautions for vessel and boat owners, operators, coxswains and passengers. Personal hygiene. Practice frequent hand hygiene, coughing and sneezing etiquette. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects and surfaces on board the boats and vessels such as steering wheel, safety or guardrails and seats. Crew members, coxswains and passengers to regularly disinfect life jackets. Practice frequent hand washing with soap. Wear a mask on board a boat or vessel. Boat owners and operators to comply with government directives on movement restrictions within counties. Kenya Maritime Authority for safe and efficient water transport.
When you're facing stubborn stains, you're always in a fierce fight. Clean Soft kicks out stains. Kimateki.
Thank you for staying with NTV tonight. The pain of the heavy rains is unrelenting, coming at a time when the country is battling the coronavirus pandemic. 116 Kenyans have lost their lives to the ongoing floods across the country, according to the Devolution Cabinet Secretary Eugene Wamalwa. This comes a few days after the weathermen warned of heavy rains across different parts of the country that are likely to continue now until June. Rose Wangoi has more.
Residents of Chetambe, Webuye East, woke up to some shocking news after a couple was buried alive after their house collapsed following heavy rains. 23-year-old Alex Wekesa and his wife, was 8 months pregnant, were asleep in the house when tragedy struck on Wednesday morning. Their lifeless bodies were unearthed from the rubble.
Nimeona hapa maajabu kwa mtoto yangu, alichenga nyumba, kaangukiako.
Hundreds of people have for the past 3 days been stranded at Tukanoto after a key road linking Tana River to Garissa was ruined by floods. More than 30 heavy commercial vehicles loaded with perishable and non-perishable goods destined for Mombasa and Garissa could not progress on their journeys, with traffic stretching kilometers on either side. And respite seems foreign as the water level increases each day, causing heavy losses to transporters and farmers.
Infrastructure in Tana River is a nightmare. We have just come from the Masalani Bridge, and we could see again there that the bridge is about to be washed away.
Milala siku tano, nimeingia hasara 1 million na 1.5 hasara.
Sasa ma MP muko kwenye parliament kule, mnavaa goggles mnalala, ama wakati ya kura ndio mtatukujia, ndio alafu mnasema mtu wape kura, na mnaona ile mateso hapa vile watu wanapata.
In a Manjalala location, Kwanza constituency, more than 2,000 families have been rendered homeless after River Sabwani broke its banks. Devolution Cabinet Secretary Eugene Wamalwa says flash floods have caused death and left a trail of destruction.
We have had over 116 lives lost to floods. We have also had over 100,000 households displaced. So we are urging that this humanitarian crisis that we are facing, even as we face it, let us work with the Ministry of Health and all the guidelines that have been given.
The displaced families have sought refuge in schools or IDP camps. They do not have masks, and to them, social distancing is out of the question. They say their problems are bigger than COVID-19.
It might be a challenge where we have families displaced, gathered in schools, but we must still utilize the schools that are yet to be opened to create enough space and distancing to ensure that we do not, in the process of supporting or lending humanitarian support to families displaced by floods, also expose them to the coronavirus.
The CS says 29 counties have been affected and the government has put in measures to assist the affected families.
For the displaced, we want to assure Kenyans that we have enough food in the country and we will be able to support all those who have been displaced so that they are able to receive this support.
Counties have set up emergency units to help with the emerging issues. Government says that more than 4 billion shillings has been disbursed to counties to build capacity in regards to the coronavirus disease. The weatherman has warned that rainfall will continue over several parts of the country. Rozongoi, NTV.
Over 100,000 teaching staff in private schools in the country will not be getting a salary this month. At the same time, parents of private schools are going head-to-head with their schools. The bone of contention, what they say are exorbitant school fees expected to be paid, although their children are home, as a COVID-19 preventive measure.
Some parents with children in private schools are calling out what they say is unfair and unreasonable school fee structures. Just today, parents of Brookhouse International School filed a suit at the High Court claiming that the international school was exploiting parents and guardians at a time when normal businesses have been disrupted. The parents add that a 10% discount is too little. However, chairlady of the Kenya Association of International Schools, Jane Mwangi, defended the move, stating that by the time schools are offering discounts, they have exhausted all other options while still trying to stay afloat.
That there is something we have to consider here for schools. We are not considering the ecosystem of a school. While they remain closed, overheads for schools go on. If your school is on rented property, you're still expected to pay rent. We have elected as international schools, at least within KAIS, that we will not release any of our teachers, the people who do the drivers, the cooks, the entire ecosystem of a school, the administrators. We are retaining them on their salaries. So we are doing truly the best we can, while understanding that it is a difficult time for our parents.
According to the Kenya Private Schools Association, there are currently 155,000 teaching staff in private schools. Only 10% of them are left with salaries for now in these uncertain times. This has been attributed to not only the rippling effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, but the fact that many schools have not managed to successfully jump from physical classrooms to virtual learning rooms.
And we are very aware that there is a digital divide. You know, there are kids and families whose priorities in life are not smartphones. So how do you get to those children? My association has a huge number of those demographics. We have schools in Northeastern places where there's no internet at all. So what do we do for learning?
KAIS argue that they're only charging parents the tuition fees after other non-essential factors have been removed. Furthermore, KAIS say that school discounts range between 10% to 50% off, but that it all depends on the financial capability and health of the institution. Anita Nkonge, NTV.
Some of the people who had been held at the Kenyatta University Quarantine Center have been released. This is after a video that circulated on social media showing one of the boys attempting to jump off one of the floors while decrying the huge bill. For one of the young men, Alphan Japani, his troubles did not end when he was released. He has been forced to pick up the pieces as, while he was away, thieves broke into his house in Mudhurwa and swept it clean.
23-year-old Alfan Japan is surrounded by his friends who are almost all he has, as the echoes of his empty house are loudly speaking of the days that have been. He was among the people who are protesting being held at the Kenyatta University quarantine facility owing to non-payment of dues. He says that after April, he and the other man who threatened to commit suicide were allowed to go home. However, while he was full of excitement to be free, his house in Mudhurwa was anything but full.
Sikuwa na fare, ibidi nitembee na mguu mpaka hapo town. Nikafunga pesa kwa bishti yangu matumaniwa, kaja saa hapo kwangu. Kufika kwangu hivi kuko empty, sijui nitaanza maisha wapi. Hadi bishti yangu anapatia nguo, pesa kulala, juu sina eni.
Japan says that he was taken into quarantine after his neighbors suspected him of having the coronavirus disease, as he exhibited breathing complications.
Mimi nilikuwa na shida ya kifua, I'm asthmatic, na pia nilikuwa nasikia kifua iko sawa vile. Sasa maneiba wakapiga simu. Watu wa huku kama wewe unatu homa ama mafua tu kidogo flu, tayari simu yapigwa yachukuliwa.
The frustration he raised echoes that of many others who say the bill they are being hit with after staying at state facilities is unreasonable and unaffordable.
Kadaiwa 67,000 ana pesa kulipa, akiambiwa achiliwe achiliwa. Akaamua sasa ile tu ajitupe kama kufa afe kuliko sababu hapa pia kuna kazi.
As per now government spend 40 billion. Swali yangu ni hiyo 40 billion inafanya kazi gani? Kama mtu ana pesa maskini, hiyo 40 billion zinafaa kumsaidia.
Japan may be free from the confinement of the walls and fences of Kenyatta University, but his situation is anything but free. He has to start afresh and figure out how to fend for his family in Mombasa, who he significantly supports. Halima Gongo, NTV.
In line with attempting to secure public spaces, Kenya has commissioned its first disinfectant tunnel at the Kenya railway station. The tunnel, manufactured locally by the numerical machining complex, has motion sensors and will emit droplets of the disinfectant when one is passing through.
If you use the commuter train, this will now be your new norm. Once you get off the train, you will be expected to pass through this disinfectant tunnel, which is spacious enough to accommodate 2 people and will guarantee you 95% sanitization.
The disinfectant machine operates using water and sodium hydrochloride, or simply bleach.
This tunnel starts by getting electricity power through the motor, from the motor to the pump. This pump is designed to have enough compression to generate the mist or the fog. The fog is user-friendly.
Kenya Railways has increased the capacity of commuter trains as a supplementary transport system, especially with the drastic measures that have hit the public transport sector. Kenya Railways has added 40 more coaches. One coach is equivalent to 5 minibuses. The added coaches have eased transport from the central business district to Ruiru, Dandora and Syokimau.
The mix is between 1 liter of detergent to 20 liters of water. This tunnel, if you put 500 liters, you can stay with it for 5-7 days. It is very economical in terms of cost.
At the cost of only 450,000 shillings, we are able to produce this very wonderful facility to safeguard our people. And I've been told by the MD that with more production, the cost will come down. We are able to bring down the cost from 450,000 to 300,000.
It will take only 3 days to manufacture the machines, and soon the locally manufactured disinfectant tunnels will be installed in 4 other major stations to ensure all passengers are sanitized. Questions on the safety of the disinfectant tunnels have also emerged, but the managing director of Numerical Machining Complex has cleared the air by stating that they are safe for everyone, even expectant women. However, some nations have already received warnings against the use of the disinfectant machines, as they may pose a health hazard by causing irritation around the eyes and on the skin. Helen Aura, NTV.
Police are tonight investigating the circumstances under which a 36-year-old man mysteriously died in a car that was burnt inside, but almost spotless outside. Terence Korir died in the driver's seat of his car parked in an 8:30 a.m. incident that very few neighbors in Nairobi's Buruburu estate were aware of before fire engines started arriving at the scene. Mahio Court Chairman Cyrus Shege called police after security guards informed him of a burning car outside one of the houses. Korir's remains were collected from his car registration KBY 779M after neighbors and Nairobi County firefighters put out the blaze. The car's interior was extensively damaged by the fire, but the exterior, including the tires, were intact. It was immediately towed to Buruburu Police Station and the body taken to Chiromo Mortuary.
Toka kwa hiyo gari ndio tuweze kujua kiini ama chanzo cha hiyo moto, tujue kama kilisababishwa na mtu ama ilikuwa kwa ajali. Kwa sasa tunaweza sema kwamba tunaendelea na uchunguzi.
That brings us to another break. The sports news is up next.
Niaje wa Kenya. Hii ni public service announcement kuhusu coronavirus.
The Ministry of Health advises all returnees from abroad to self-quarantine for at least 14 days, whether they feel well or unwell.
Wash your hands regularly following the 8 steps of hand washing. Wet hands with warm water. Apply a small amount of soap. Rub palms together. Rub fingers and thumbs and the bits in between. Rub nails on palms. Rub the back of each hand. Rinse with clean running water and dry thoroughly with a clean dry towel.
Furthermore, it is advisable to cover your mouth and nose adequately when sneezing or coughing and immediately dispose of the tissue in a dustbin. Please do not use handkerchiefs if you can avoid it. If disposable tissue is unavailable, cough into your elbow. Try and avoid close contact with anyone showing signs of respiratory illness, such as coughing or sneezing.
Before you share any coronavirus information on social media, please verify it with Ministry of Health to avoid panic and alarm among your fellow Kenyans.
Have you shared your bonga points with someone who needs them? Remember to help a friend or anyone in need to buy food using your bonga points. Stay at home, but still stay together with your loved ones and friends using bonga points. Share your story or video of how you've helped a fellow Kenyan to our FB page NTV Kenya, Twitter page at NTV Kenya, Instagram at NTV Kenya, SMS 20686 or our WhatsApp number 0745 925 002.
Breastfeeding ruins the shape of your breasts. This myth is false. Feeding your baby at night makes breastfeeding easier. Yes, this is true. Small breasts can't produce enough milk. This myth is false.
Kiss Kids diapers. Kiss Kids, no rashes. Kiss Kids, no rashes. Bye-bye rashes. Bye diapers. Choose Kiss Kids.
Welcome home to Amani Ridge, the place of peace. Your own urban sanctuary. A lifestyle waiting for you just 20 kilometers from the CBD. A place to unwind and get your health and fitness goals attained. A secure place for your family. A place for your children to have fun. A place to enjoy a sundowner. Success just doesn't happen. You have to make it happen. Make the impossible possible. Invest in Amani Rich, the place of peace. Luxury you can afford. Call us today on 0790 300 300 or visit www.optivan.co.ke.
On Thursday, 30th April 2020, the Nation Media Group will hold a live virtual Nation Leadership Forum starting 7:30 p.m. on NTV. With the help of a panel of experts, we will be unpacking the economic challenges COVID-19 presents, the various measures introduced to deal with these challenges, and what needs to be done to lead Kenya on to economic recovery. Nation Leadership Forum. Engaging society, impacting the nation.
Welcome to the sports. And the Cabinet Secretary Amina Mohammed on Wednesday, earlier today, re-emphasized that her ministry will distribute funds to sportsmen and women in conjunction with the private sector during the COVID-19 pandemic. Like other sectors, the sports industry has been hard hit by the coronavirus, with federations being forced to suspend competitions and leagues indefinitely to conform to the government directive on social gatherings. Players, officials and other stakeholders have been forced to seek other means of survival as the government continues to battle the virus. In addition to money from the sports fund, the corporate sector will also contribute to both teams and individuals whose names have been submitted to the ministry from federations. This week marks 27 years since Zambia lost most of their national team players in a horrific plane crash off the coast of Gabon in the Atlantic Ocean. They were on their way to Senegal for a World Cup qualifier. The plane had 5 crew members, 25 players, coaching staff and officials from the country's football association, making for a total of 30 people on board. Captain Kalusha Bwalia was supposed to link up with the team in Senegal, and that is how the team's most famous players survived the crash. The hand of fate did repay Zambia in 2012, though, as they won the Nations Cup for the first time. The victory ironically came in Gabon, where their predecessors died on a similar quest of bringing glory to Zambia. The postponement of the 2020 Tokyo Games means the International Olympic Committee will have to shoulder several $100 million of costs. Its president, Thomas Bach, has admitted. An open letter from Bach to the Olympic movement outlined the impact of the coronavirus pandemic on sport and the wider society. The leaders of the Tokyo Organizing Committee of the Olympic and Paralympic Games have warned the cost of delaying the Games until the summer of 2021 will be massive, with media reports in Japan putting the additional cost somewhere between $2 and $6 billion US. Bach admitted the crisis had forced the IOC to review its budget and priorities. He said the review would be presented shortly to the IOC's executive board.
President, IOC member.
The German, Dutch and Finnish MotoGP races, which were scheduled to take place in June and July, have all been cancelled due to the ongoing coronavirus pandemic. The new season is yet to start, with the first 11 races affected, and a revised calendar has not been published. Races in Spain, France and Italy have so far been postponed, but are now looking more uncertain to take place. The next race on the original calendar is the Czech Grand Prix on the 9th of August. The German Grand Prix had been scheduled for the 21st of June, with the Dutch TT at Assen the following weekend, while Finland's new track was due to host its debut race on the 12th of July. And that's it for the sport, and that's it for NTV Tonight and Team Coverage Wednesday, with the focus on the future of work and employment in the coronavirus wake. And thank you for watching. Thank you to the team that made this possible, and thank you to Flora Atieno for the sign language interpretation. Thank you for those who responded to this story that we brought to you earlier of Penina Kitsao, a widow in Kisauni, Mombasa County, who boiled stones in the guise of cooking real food so that her children would stop crying, as she hoped they would fall asleep. Many have said they want to help her, and she has allowed that we share her number, which we did earlier in the bulletin, so that she can help her 8 children. And the number that we gave was 0797850029 for those who would be able to help through money transaction, mobile money transaction. And there's many who have given us a feedback that they've gotten the message, failed M-Pesa cannot authorize this transaction. Please request the recipient to check their balance. And yes, we are reaching out to Safaricom to give us an explanation, as many have been trying to use via M-Pesa, and we'll definitely follow this story up. But don't tire, Penina and her 8 children still need your help. We'll be following this story up with Kevin Mutai, our reporter who got it in the first place. Thank you for watching. My name is Mark Masai. Have yourself a good night.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
During this period and always, bank different by avoiding interest in all your transactions. If not now, when? Ensure that all your transactions are free from elements of uncertainty and gambling by only investing your money differently. Bank on strong partnerships where generated profits and risks are shared by both parties. Bank different with Gulf African Bank. Call us on 0711 075 000 or SMS join to 21981. May God protect us. Ramadan Mubarak.
This is NTV.
I help women find independence by training them in fish farming. It's tough on my back, joints, and can cause headaches. Panadol Extra relieves multiple types of pain. If symptoms persist, seek medical advice.
Good morning, Janet.
Wow! And you are?
I'm Casey. Now help you with anything to do with your KCB bank account. Pay bills, transfers, statements.
You're hired.
I'm the internet banking security ninja. I'm your 24/7 personal assistant.
Super.
So, we can always talk about your account, online, whenever you like. Need a ride?
Let's go.
Alrighty, with you anywhere, anytime.
Register at your nearest branch for KCB Internet Banking today.
When you're facing stubborn stains, you're always in a fierce fight. Clean Soft kicks out stains. Kimateki.
Breastfeeding ruins the shape of your breasts. This myth is false. Feeding your baby at night makes breastfeeding easier. Yes, this is true. Small breasts can't produce enough milk. This myth is false.
Kiss Kids diapers. Kiss Kids, no rashes. Kiss Kids, no rashes. Bye-bye rashes. Buy diapers. Choose Kiss Kids.
On Thursday, 30th April 2020, the Nation Media Group will hold a live virtual Nation Leadership Forum starting 7:30 p.m. on NTV. With the help of a panel of experts, we will be unpacking the economic challenges COVID-19 presents, the various measures introduced to deal with these challenges, and what needs to be done to lead Kenya on to economic recovery. Nation Leadership Forum. Engaging society, impacting the nation.
NTV, turning on your world. The following program has been rated 16. It may be unsuitable for persons under the age of 16.
This week on Lit 360.
Actually, I've been with my brother ever since he started up to now. And one of the reasons why I had to stop music is because, being the elder brother, there's a lot of responsibilities that I had to take care of.
Ongeza kilo, jukani heavy mindo pedi. Matanga ikolini mse beats imededi. They gonna turn ugly when they see me on your telly. Shout out to my women getting paper on a daily.
I once was given the title of the king of freestyle rap. Road ruled it for a minute. Then I just had more people become kings. So I think I'm an emperor now. So sitting upon my throne, watching upon these little townships, I'm gonna give you my take on what's really happening.
Lick Gang, how has life been treating you? I hope kind, but if not, I can at least give you a break for the next 1 hour of your life. So get in that couch, get comfy, and welcome to the show.